Does rescuing mortals require the heroes to deal with evil angels?
Oh
Do
yeah,
angels only fight off spiritual evil, or do they have to
right.
worry about the material and spirit at the same time?
Got you. Yes. So yes, you do have to deal with evil spirits, and you also have to deal with flesh. So that's really what it is. So not every time. It's really up to you. It's not that okay. So like for example, an illness. Let's say somebody's supposed to be healed. Not every illness has in the game, and I don't believe in real life either. Not every illness has a spiritual, source to it, but some do. And so sometimes you are healing them by defeating the spirit that is on them, and then if that spirit gets cast off, then they won't be bothering them anymore. But sometimes God just is, you're working in through somebody's prayers or whatever, and God just, either God himself through the Holy Spirit or commissions you to heal that person, gives you the ability to do that. So really, yes, rescuing, that's just one example, but rescuing them doesn't always have to involve evil spirits. It's usually, that's what makes the game fun in a lot of ways, is the combat. So a lot of times it will, but develop that plot, go for it. And I try very much in what I produce in the game. I mean, you're going to do what you do at your table, but I try to make it pretty clear that even though we are super focused on the spiritual, not everything is oppression by some evil spirit. Not everything has its source there.
Yeah, not.
You can just make bad decisions and find yourself dealing with the consequences of that. You don't just have to contend with the evil spirits, you have to contend with the humans' choices. They are free to do what they're going to do, and you are in the scenes, usually unseen and unknown, trying to steer that, trying to guide their thoughts and hope that you're like, it literally kind of is the little angel and devil, like in the cartoons where they're whispering into your ear. They're like, no, do the thing. Oh, you don't want to do that, and it's like, it jokingly, that's funny, but it kind of almost is where you're trying to vie over influence. You're trying to influence that person, but they are the one, even in those scenarios in the comical cartoons or TV shows, when you see that they're both trying to influence that person's decision and what that person will do, and that's the way it is in the game. So you've got to struggle with uncooperative humans and humans with their own selfish desires and other things, just as much as you have to deal with spiritual situations, and sometimes simultaneously, and it sometimes gets hard, and that's a unique challenge of the game as well. Yeah.
A good example would be like in the Spawn world. Like Spawn is like basically just back on Earth trying to do his thing, and then there's like some like clown demon that's like consistently trying to push him to essentially like be the evil warrior for like hell that he's supposed to be or whatever. Like
Right.
like granted, like the clown dude's able to like actually be manifest and be there or whatever,
Right.
but like if it wasn't if it wasn't there physically and he was trying to push him to do these like essentially what he wants him to do, like that's kind of what like fallen angels or evil spirits might end up doing if essentially left unchecked.
Yeah.
Like yeah, they're just consistently
And for the most
trying
part
to
in the
push
world, they
people to do
kind
certain
of are
things.
unchecked. I mean,
Yeah,
in that regard.
for sure.
We're outnumbered. When we're the holy angels here, we're outnumbered. And, this is hostile territory. And when you first come in as a low-ranking character, it's not like games where you start off and you're the hero. Because, again, remember, your character can get beat up and you're going to come back. So it gives us an opportunity to let you feel, when you're a little guy, you feel like a little guy. When your party's weak, you can feel weak. And there really is reward to gaining strength and feeling like, hey, I've earned this. I'm getting somewhere. We've worked hard to get where we are now. And that's also fun and rewarding about the game, when you have these long-term characters that grow and grow and grow from tier to tier to tier, and that is rewarding about the game too. But yeah. It's largely it's unchecked. As far as the world is largely hostile. and
Yeah.
we're our interference is usually due, and you can do what you want with it, but I often have it tied to prayer, because God, from what I understand in my studies, is that God, gave dominion over the earth to humanity, and we botched it and we handed it over to Satan. Then you've got Satan tempting Jesus in the wilderness, and he's saying, "Look, why don't you bow and worship me? I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world." He shows them the kings of the world. He says, "They're all mine. They've been given to me, and I give them to who I wish." So, and Jesus didn't say, He's like, "Well, it's written this." So I kind of go with that idea, in that it's like, human prayer, like that faithful grandmother or mother that's been praying for their child, or all those things. Those are the things that free us to interfere. A lot of times God can do what he's going to do, and sometimes he's just going to do things, but for the most part, there's the scripture where he says, "I sought for a man to stand in the gap." This in Ezekiel, but I found none, and so my wrath's going to be poured out. He was looking for somebody to intercede and didn't find anybody. And so, there are more examples than that, but that's kind of what I go with. And so, also, it makes for a fun plot point, because why are we outgunned in this situation? If God really wants this to happen, well, I tried to inspire prayer, and this is all the prayer that was there, and so it only warrants us sending this strength of a group, and so you're outgunned, but do your best, doggone it, and you
I
win a
mean,
lot of
like,
those times. But yeah, it's fun. It adds tension to the game. Yeah,
yeah, there's like 2 points I want to bring up. The
yeah.
first one is that this is this isn't like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior, where you start off in your little, like, old school, to clarify. Like, you
Oh
start off
yeah,
in your
yeah.
little area and the monsters are leveled appropriately. You still can
Right.
lose and whatnot. No, no, no. This is more like Skyrim, where I was like plopped down and said, "That's a giant. I've only been playing this game for maybe an hour. Let's see if I can go fight him." And then I went flying across the world
Yes.
because he decided to play golf with me.
Yes.
I was the ball. you know,
Yes.
like you don't have to pull back your punches to tell an interesting story. You can have insurmountable odds,
Yeah.
because like the worst thing for a DM to do is essentially say, "Oh, like, in order to tell a good story, your characters have to win." So like now the
Right.
tension's almost completely gone. You know, like
Yeah.
like I had
It
a
makes the
character.
stakes real. Just
It
like
does.
people say, "Oh, when if your character can't die, what stakes are there?" But
No,
in human
actually.
situations, your character cannot succeed. Your character can fail, and
Mhm.
that raises the stakes in a way
Well,
that a lot of role playing games can't do as well.
and so here's a great example. When you're playing, let's say, Dark Souls, Monster Hunter, or Mega Man, the games that are really hard,
Yes.
when you get to the boss, the stakes are real, not because, "Oh no, I might die." Yeah, you're probably going to die. Like, that's what happens. But you
Yeah.
respawn. But like when you get that really close, I'm almost about to beat them. I just need to make sure not to get touched or hit one more time. Then like that's why the stakes are high in that moment, and Allies
Yeah.
allows you to do that, because more or less you're going to respawn, as
Yeah.
opposed to games like D&D, where or even Delta Green in a different manner. I'll explain why Delta Green, but like D&D, for instance, it's like your characters have to win in order for a good story to be told. You definitely can't do like a total party kill or TPK,
Yeah.
because then there goes your story. The DM wants to tell his story, or his or her, or whatever. The DM wants to tell their story, and so like that's just the way that is. You're probably going to win. Like, I literally had like a DM say, "No, I'm not going to kill your character." I'm like, "He got hit to like almost half health, and like these monsters are pretty strong. And like if he dies, he dies. That's fine with me." It's like, "No, no, no, I'm not going to kill your character." I'm like, "Well, thanks." Um, but on the flip side of that coin, you have games like Call of Cthulhu or Delta Green, where dying is almost inevitable, and
Yeah.
then now it's just kind of like, well, it's a matter of time, and then like it's kind of like, how far into the story can you get, or how much of the mystery can you solve before that happens, and that's
Yeah.
fine, and that creates a lot of tension in a different way. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
this finds a really good in between, in my opinion, and to where like the tension's there, but that failure is acceptable,
Yeah.
as opposed to like D&D where failure is not really acceptable. It just doesn't happen. You just really don't
Yeah.
fail, which kind of sucks often. Or like on the big scale, small scale you can. And once again, this all
Sure.
depends on who's running it and how they want to run it. And then
Right. Right.
the more extreme side with like Delta Green or Call of Cthulhu, failure is inevitable.
Right.
you know, and it's only a matter of time. Which, like I said, both present different type of things, or different opportunities. But like I said, I think Allies hit a really good in the middle when it comes to that type of stuff.